The Joy of Creation is one of the most popular Five Nights at Freddy's fan games ever created, and even has its own place in the Fazbear Fanverse initiative. However, it wasn't always one of the most well-known FNAF fan games. Let's take a look back at a time before all this popularity. This is every game in the Joy of Creation. We start in 2015 when the demo for the Joy of Creation was released. This game had one game mode called Survival, a mode where you had to fend off the animatronics for as long as you can. This mode had no ending and will eventually end with being jump scared. The phone call reveals that you are playing as Scott and that he has given a budget out to rebuild the restaurant and was searching for animatronics. The phone call goes on about budget and how the robots will go crazy if asked to perform while the player tries to fend off the animatronics. There was little put into story on this game, and the only animatronics were Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy. The game was set inside Scott's office, with doors in front and to the sides, and a window at the back. Freddy would appear at the door in front, and Bonnie from the door to the right. Chica would attack from the left, and Foxy from the window behind. All animatronics had the same mechanic of flashing the light at them to stop them. This game was based on the fourth Five Nights at Freddy's game and another game called The Boogeyman. This game started development in November 2015 and released 3 days after the Game Jolt page was first created. Niksons' announcement for the game mentioned how it would not be a free roam game and would have custom animatronics. He then stayed silent for 10 days until announcing that the game would have completely new mechanics and style. 7 weeks after that announcement, he revealed that the project would be canceled due to him losing interest in it. A few months later, he held a vote asking people whether he should revive the game or not. Over 500 people voted for it to be revived, and then Nixon started developing a new game called The Joy of Creation, Reborn. The Joy of Creation Reborn was the next chapter for The Joy of Creation. It was released in May 2016 and was constantly updated to include new features. The game itself featured much more advanced and polished gameplay and introduced new mechanics, depending on the animatronic that the player was facing. Each animatronic had its own level and mechanic, however, the base objective of finding different objects stayed the same. Freddy's level was called the First Floor. It was essentially a maze of hallways and different rooms that you would explore to find the different objects, which were things you would typically find in a house like a VHS player. Freddy would roam around this map, and the way to avoid dying was quite simple. Stay out of his line of sight. If he saw you, he would run quickly at you, and it was very difficult to survive. Ignited Bonnie's level was the basement and was very similar to Ignited Freddy's in gameplay. Ignited Bonnie would also chase you if he saw you, meaning that staying away from him was your best hope for survival. The map layout itself was like a labyrinth of gray rooms and corridors, somewhat similar to Freddy's, but noticeably darker, with no windows at all. Bonnie's jump scare would become one of the most iconic, giving you a metal fist right to the face. Ignited Foxy was the first animatronic to really differentiate in terms of gameplay. Instead of walking around randomly, he would follow the player around consistently. When his eyes turned white, he would start running towards you, and the only way to stop him was to flash the light in his eyes. A nice reference to FNAF 2, where he would freeze if you shone the light down the hallway. However, if you flashed the light at him while his eyes were dark, they would turn red, and he would quickly run at you and kill you with no way to stop him. The overall objective remained the same. This level's design is different to the other two. While it is still a maze of different rooms, there weren't many hallways, and the wooden materials used gave it a different feel to the cold emptiness of the basement. This level is similar to the attic level of the Joy of Creation story mode, and it is clear that Nikson took a lot of inspiration from this level, as the resemblance between the color of the wood and the area you start in are there. Ignited Chica had the most unique level by far. For a start, the level itself took place in a forest, with a path going around the perimeter. This is a big change to the previous 3 that had all been inside a building. The objects you were searching for were different too, with them being drawings as opposed to random items. A fun little Easter egg within this level is that most of the drawing depicted Niksons' other games such as Those Nights at Rachel's. The setting and objects for this level give the impression that Slender Man the 8 Pages influenced the design, although this is not actually confirmed anywhere that this is true. Ignited Chica's mechanic is also unique, having Chica remain at bay as long as you look at her and stay on the path. If you flash your light at her too much, or look away off and stray off the path for too long, her eyes will turn red, and she will kill you within seconds. This area was the only area that was seemingly completely scrapped from the Joy of Creation story mode, with only an Easter egg within the first level being set there. That is all 4 of the Joy of Creation's levels, but it was not the end of its scares. When you complete all 4 of the levels, an extras button will appear on the main menu. Pressing this button will take you to an exhibition of the 4 animatronics on podiums in a room. The room has relaxing music and a light switch on the wall. Interacting with the light switch will switch off the lights and music, and a door will appear on the opposite wall. This door takes you to a corridor, which, after a while of wandering, will take you to a door and a second corridor. Following this corridor will take you to another door, with another room surrounded by phantasmagoric foxies. After walking past the last 2, you're jump scared by phantasmagoric foxy, and words will flash up on the screen saying, "See you later." That's all for the Joy of Creation Reborn. While it may not have been the most polished game, it certainly gave us a look into what was to come from Nikson and this series in future. The Joy of Creation Halloween Edition was released on October 31st, 2016, and was a nice treat for his fans, but equally showed how his development skills had progressed. The gameplay itself, while similar to that of the Joy of Creation Reborn, was far more polished with contrasting color lighting to make objects stand out easier. It also included a new mechanic, which was the phone. This phone had a camera system which allowed you to play audio to lure Ignited Springtrap away, similar to how FNAF 3 was played. The objective of this game, however, was to find a hammer and a lighter and break open all the pipes that were given a red light. A game design mechanic that made the game much less frustrating and contrasted well with the overall color scheme. Once you had broken all of the pipes open, you had to get back to the entrance and light it on fire. However, as you did, Ignited Springtrap came and choked you, meaning that nobody escaped the fire. This game also had voice acting and a phone call. Both your character and the phone guy had voices, which was something that the Joy of Creation Reborn lacked. That being said, this was definitely a fun game and a good reward for the fans who had waited so patiently. And with all those out of the way, we now get to the one I am sure you have all been waiting for. The Joy of Creation story mode was the ultimate game in the series, the one that all the tests, demos, and betas had led to. Nikson started production on it after he had finished the Joy of Creation Reborn on September 3rd, 2016. Initially, Nikson had his doubts about how popular this game would be, and perhaps at the time it was understandable considering how buggy his earlier demos were. However, after being encouraged by Fisnam to stop uploading demos and just release the full game, Nikson obliged, and development continued in the background. It became clear to fans that this game would be a major step up, though, when Nikson released his first trailer for the game on April 17th, 2017. He would then proceed to release 4 more trailers, including a release date trailer. The game then released on July 17th, 2017. And it is safe to say that it was the biggest and best of the Joy of Creation. The game was split into 5 levels each, being named after the area of the house they were set in. The levels were bedroom, living room, office, basement, and attic. Each level had its own unique gameplay style and character that you play, as along with instructions from Michael in all but the basement and office levels. These instructions were what you would expect, with him giving you advice on how to survive the nightmare you are trapped in. The first level was the bedroom. This level was set in Nick Cawthon's bedroom, and you play as a young Nick. The enemies in this level consist of Ignited Freddy, Ignited Bonnie, Ignited Chica, Ignited Foxy, and Ignited Golden Freddy. The way to beat this level was to survive until 6 a.m. rolled around, which, as Michael explained, would come much quicker due to the supernatural forces at play. The other unique gameplay mechanic to this level was the sanity. In order to stop yourself from going insane,
you would have to keep the light on for as long as you can. Failing to do this sufficiently would result in you being transported outside into the forest outside your room and being killed by Golden Freddy. The other 4 animatronics all had fairly standard mechanics. Ignited, Freddy would appear at the window, and in order to stop him, you would have to close the curtains until you hear his audio cue to tell you that he has left. Ignited Bonnie was the biggest danger to your sanity, as he would require you to switch off the light and sit down for a short time to stop him from killing you. He would knock on the door twice before then knocking on it 3 times to indicate that he was coming. This allowed the player to keep track of his movements and prepare for him before he arrived, however proved to be confusing during the tense moments of the night, leading to many fails. Chica would hide in the closet and open the doors at random. To counter her, you had to switch off the light and not look at her until she went away. She was unique to the other animatronics though, as she would only stun you if she caught you potentially giving you a second chance or setting you up for death. Lastly, Fox would hide under the crib and scratch it before he attacked. He would then put his hook on the back of the crib to show that he would attack soon, and his final phase was to stand over the crib. When he did this, the way to avoid being jump scared was to lie down and close your eyes, pretending to sleep. As Michael put it, Foxy sees eyes as if they are big, bright spotlights, and closing them would trick him into not thinking that you were there anymore. This game also had its fair share of Easter eggs, including pictures that Nikson drew of the 4 first FNAF games. The original FNAF 1 poster complete with squeaky nose and a wall decoration in the shape of the Pop Goes logo, which would play a little tune when pressed. This level was overall very well balanced and designed with clear and challenging mechanics and finely tuned balancing. The next level that this game had to offer was the living room. This level was set within the living room and had different mechanics to the first. This time you played as Scott's wife Val, who was far more mistrusting towards Michael, and even picked up on how Michael knew Scott's name, despite never having it mentioned to him. In this game mode, the unique mechanic is the television, which would give you a view from Freddy and Foxy's perspective, and also featured a pause button, which allowed you to freeze one of the animatronics in place. This mechanic was fundamental to the level, as it would have been impossible to survive without it. The other unique mechanic to this level was that you had to hide out of view from the animatronics that would come through the doors. The animatronics worked far more similar to each other in this level compared to the first, as 3 out of the 4 all have the same method to stop them. Freddy would come from the door to your left and could be forced out of time with Foxy, so that you had enough time to run and hide behind the other door before he arrived. Foxy worked in the same way as Freddy, but from the right side. Freddy's eyes emitted a blue-white color light, while Foxy's emitted a red light. Bonnie worked slightly differently to the other 2, as he would come from the door in the middle of the room. And the only way to see how close he got was to check through the keyhole and use audio cues. He had 4 stages before he attacked and could be avoided by hiding on either side of the doors. Chica worked differently to those 3, as she would just appear in your room at random, and to avoid being stunned by her, you had to avoid looking in her direction until she went away. Ignited Golden Freddy only appears when you find the hidden newspaper, and does not attack.
The third level this game had ready for us was the office. This level was set in Scott's office and featured gameplay far more similar to that of the original 5 Nights at Freddy's games. For the rest of the game now, you play as Scott as he tries to escape this nightmare and keep his family safe. This was also the end of Michael's help, as we hear Scott talking to himself about what he needs to do in order to survive. He goes on to explain how the animatronics are getting smarter, but still have weaknesses inherited from the games. The unique mechanic in this level is the camera system that you have to watch all of the animatronics on, and is in some ways similar to the television that was used in the living room level. The animatronics also act differently to the previous levels, with only one entering your room. The rest stay outside. Freddy doesn't like the flashlight and will go away if flashed in the eyes while he is at one of the entrances. Bonnie doesn't directly kill the player and instead targets the cameras, destroying them if you look directly at him with one. Chica will try to get through a hole in the wall and will only leave if you find all of her cupcakes. She is slowed down by looking at her. The cupcakes can appear in any of the areas outside the office, alongside a range of spots in it. Foxy acts similar to how he does in Five Nights at Freddy's. One, in that he stands outside the office at any of the entrances and waits there until you either open the entrance leading him to kill you or you stare at him through the camera until he leaves. Golden Freddy only appears when you find the hidden newspaper and does not attack you. This level is a nice throwback to the original Five Nights at Freddy's games and offers a refreshing change in the style of play and adds a fresh challenge. The fourth level is by far the most unique and possibly one of the most recognizable levels in all of Five Nights at Freddy's. It is set in the basement that Scott goes down into after finding the note left for him by his family. This note lured him down to the basement where the new animatronics called the Fallen were waiting. This level had 6 unique challenges that the player had to complete in order to escape and subsequently make the Fallen stronger. The 4 Fallen animatronics were called Mouth, Blue, Red, and Angel. The first phase that the player had to complete was simply to go up to the door of the basement to try and escape. After interacting with the door, so the words "don't come close" and come back flash across your screen, you had to go back down to the bathroom quickly and avoid getting too close to Mouth to avoid dying in the process. If you do not manage this within 40 to 60 seconds, Blue will come and kill you. Once you get into the bathroom, the second challenge begins. The second challenge consists of burning an item related to each of the 4 animatronics. These items were Freddy's top hat, Bonnie's guitar, Chica's cupcake, and Foxy's hook. The animatronic called Mouth is predictable in her movements and easy to handle, but Blue is awkward as he appears at random and only make his presence known by the words "you are not safe" and go back flashing up on the screen along with a picture of Blue reaching out to you. When this happens, you need to make it back to the bathroom within 20 seconds to a minute, or else you will black out and wake up being burned alive within the furnace. Once you have gotten all the items in the furnace, it will ignite and burn them all, showing that you succeeded the challenge. After that, you go back to the bathroom and challenge 3 begins. The third challenge is seen as the hardest because of the animatronic called Angel that has a particularly challenging mechanic, somewhat similar to that of Fun with Plush Trap from Five Nights at Freddy's 4. The objective of this challenge is to get to the stairs again. However, this is easier said than done because of the gates that require a code to open. The first code is found by looking at how many animatronics are on each drawing that is next to the keypad. The code to this gate is 9,632. The player then has to lure Angel into the room they are in without looking away for too long, otherwise they will be killed. The next code is more simple as it used colors on the keypad referencing the 4 animatronics, and the amount of presents on each drawing is what order that number is in. After opening this gate, the player can then go up the stairs and discover that the door has been blocked off with pipes. The player then has to get the key that is hanging from the ceiling. Once this key is collected, both gates open and angels disappear, and the player can go back to the bathroom, ending Challenge 3. Challenge 4 has the player leave the bathroom only to discover that the basement has been replaced by one long hallway. The player then has to walk down this hallway in order to complete the challenge. About halfway down the hallway, another hallucination appears with an image of red appearing on the screen, along with the words, "Keep going," and "Don't look back," as a red light switches on, and we hear Freddy's laugh. The animatronic Red will also start running towards you, and as long as you keep moving forward, you should be able to make it to the door in time, taking you back to the bathroom for the final challenge. The final challenge, again, has the basement change into a long blank hallway with rows of red lights and 3 cell doors blocking the player's path to the exit. The monitors are back with another message, and the furnace is lit at the other end of the room. In order to complete this challenge, the player must make it to the other side of the basement without being killed by any of the animatronics. In this level, there are multiple copies of the animatronic Angel and 2 copies of the animatronic Mouth. The angels move towards you every time you look away from them, and the mouths just stand there until you get too close, leading them to attack. Once you press the button at the bottom of the basement stairs, all the animatronics disappear, and you are able to use the key you got in the 3rd challenge on this door. When you do that, a hallucination of Golden Freddy flashes across your screen, and when it is done, the door is erased, and you have to go back to the bathroom for the final phase. Also, if you die during this challenge, the words "Open the way for us, Michael" will flash across the screen, which shows that we are playing as Michael, not Scott, for this level, which is pretty cool, I thought. When you leave the bathroom for the final time, you will see that the basement is back to how it was before Michael knocked Scott out, and only has Scott's computer in it, with it showing an image from the website scottgames.com. You can leave this level through to door to end it. The final level of this game is called The Attic, and begins with Scott waking up while tied to a chair. In front of him is a radio that Michael uses to tell Scott about how he must die in order for Michael to become human. Scott manages to free himself and the game begins. This level's main objective is to stop creation from getting to you by flashing him with the light on the cameras. This light requires a recharge after every flash. The way to end this night, however, is to find and flash Golden Freddy 6 times using the flash on the camera. He will appear randomly in different cameras, and his laugh and plush will become more distorted and fuzzy with each flash. The other threat to Scott during this night is the Fallen, who try to get in using the 2 doors to his side. You can see how close one is to your doors using the camera system and audio cues. When you hear running from one side, you turn around and close the door to stop that animatronic killing you. The twist to this is that only one door can be closed at a time, meaning that timing is crucial for this level. When you flash Golden Freddy for the 6th time, the night will end and play the next cut scene, which shows Scott escape and try to drag himself to the exit, while Michael taunts him and tells him that the night won't end until he dies. Accepting this, he begs Michael to look after his family and accepts his fate. It is seen in the final cutscene and credits that Michael upheld this request, ensuring that Scott's family all got out safe, and repeating over and over again that they are safe now. That's all that matters, as his voice gets more distorted and the family realize what has happened. This game even included some extra modes in the extras menu that provided some unique and more difficult challenges, meaning that this game was fun to replay even after you complete the story mode. The joy of creation has risen from a canceled project, lost to time, to one of the most iconic and recognizable franchises within all of Five Nights at Freddy's, and the joy of creation story mode was its peak, the best of the bunch, the one all the demos and betas had led up to. It really was the pinnacle of Niksons' ability to develop games on the Five Nights at Freddy's scene, and I'm sure it will remain that way. After all, it's not like Scott Cawthon would see this game about him being murdered and decide to give Nikson a budget for a remake. Is The Joy of Creation Ignited Collection, or as it is now known as just The Joy of Creation, was revealed by Scott Cawthon on Reddit on the 22nd of August 2020 as a part Fazbear Fanverse initiative. Nikson himself then made a Game Jolt post explaining what the project was. He originally said that it was going to be a bundle of the original 3 games with Halloween edition excluded, and he expected the title somewhere in 2021. From there, he would upload updates regularly of developments, and only 8 days later, the official theme for the Joy of Creation Ignited Collection was released on YouTube, Reddit, and Twitter. Nikson interacted with the community, often asking them what they wanted from the game with polls. Unfortunately, development was stopped for a significant period due to a delay in contract with Glowstick Entertainment, and on April 30th, 2022, he was finally allowed to start development again. He also stated that he had changed the ignited animatronics models, as he didn't TMT want to use the Help Wanted models as a base. Development then continued on with frequent updates on his Twitter. On July 27, 2023, Nikson announced that The Joy of Creation Classic would not be remade for the Ignited Collection, instead opting for new gameplay and story for the story and reborn modes, and that the game will be priced at $19.99. On August 14, 2023, Nikson shared another prototype gameplay video stating that he planned the Office demo to release in 2023. On March 25, 2024, Nikson announced that he was going to change the title of Ignited Collection to just The Joy of Creation, as he wants to give the game a feel that it is a new game that draw inspiration from the previous ones, rather than a remake. I must admit, I personally prefer this new title. The Joy of Creation Ignited Collection was Call, but kind of just made it sound like it was all the previous games bundled up. This one sounds like it is its own title. That nicely leads us up to the most recent update we have had about the Joy of Creation. On June 19th, 2024, Nixon released the official Office demo trailer on his socials. It shows gameplay from the new Office level, which I must admit looks terrifying. The trailer revealed that the demo would release on the 2nd of August. We have on the Joy of Creation for now. This game was always one of my favorites growing up, and it is nice to see what it has become. One more thing before I go, these AI voices really struggle to capture emotion, don't they? So monotone. Anyway, that's all from me now. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.